Hello, and welcome to this review of the School for Heiresses historical romance book series by Sabrina Jeffries. I'm Olivia, your favorite resource for book recommendations you can easily screenshot, and you're watching Random Olive Reads. First up is Never Seduce a Scoundrel. Lady Amelia is the daughter of an earl who is dodging fortune hunters and longing for adventure. She runs into a bit of trouble when she's nearly caught snooping in the American Navy major's personal correspondence, but she's wary of her stepmother being the target of his secret investigation. She plans to find out more in order to protect her stepmother, and she plays the simpering miss to do so. Lucas has a bunch of hangups against the English, and he's annoyed to have to be in England to deal with this fraud and embezzlement case, but he realizes that he can use a courtship with Amelia to find out more about his suspect. They're both toying with each other for information, but there's definitely a real simmering attraction here. We get into way more dramatics halfway through the book when we need to deal with a kidnapping and a road trip. It was really interesting to see how two people who are totally dishonest with each other end up falling in love. Only a Duke Will Do is book two of the series. This one will make more sense if you've also read To Pleasure a Prince, because Simon and Louisa feature quite a bit in that book. That's the second book of the previous series to this. Basically, in the previous book, Simon was courting Louisa at the king's request in exchange for political favors, until she figures out the deception and uses her influence as the king's natural daughter to have Simon sent to India. We start this book 7 years later. Simon has returned, and the king is still playing tricks with him. Simon renews his attentions on Louisa, but she's a lot more skeptical now. Plus, she has the added fear of childbirth because her half sister, Princess Charlotte, died during the process. It's mostly a redemption story for Simon here, since Louisa's already pretty awesome. I loved seeing him soften for real and learn to stand on his own morals rather than the political jockeying that he's used to. 10 Reasons to Stay is book two and a half of the series. It's a quick little novella here. Eliza is running away from her uncle guardian, who means to marry her off to a friend. She tries to borrow a horse from the new earl's stable, not realizing that he's in residence. Colin, newly arrived to his estate from India and distrustful of almost everything. There's a lot of verbal sparring here between Eliza and Colin as he tries to high handedly protect her, but it also try to scare her about the dangers of men. It's an insta-lust, steamy novella here with a neat and tidy happily ever after. Beware a Scots Revenge is book three of the series. Lady Venetia is visiting Scotland with her aunt after having been in London for many years and promptly gets kidnapped by her childhood neighbor Lachlan. He's got a rivalry with her father over some unpaid debts and is trying to use Venetia for ransom. But it's way more complicated than that because Lachlan and Venetia keep switching between yelling at each other and lusting at each other. This is one of those stories where Lachlan is the one who needs to get over himself and his need for vengeance if he wants to have a true relationship with Venetia. Let Sleeping Rogues Lie is book four of the series. Anthony is a wicked gentleman who has just inherited a Viscount title and wants to gain custody of his niece away from his cruel aunt and uncle. He tries to get the niece enrolled at a reputable girls' school, but his terrible reputation and looming custody battle make all the schools wary of taking her on. Madeline is a teacher at Mrs. Harris's school and somehow manages to negotiate a deal for Anthony where he cleans up his act and gives rake lessons to the girls at the school so they know what to avoid. She has her own ulterior motives because she needs to meet one of Anthony's scientist friends to help her own father's dire situation. It's all a muddle with lies and secret keeping, mostly on Madeline's part. And of course, Anthony is doing his best to seduce Madeline in the meantime. This book had the perfect blend of external conflict with the slow burn romance between our main characters. And I like seeing Anthony start to sober up and take care of his responsibilities. When Sparks Fly is book 4.5 of the series, we have a quick little Christmas novella here. Wealthy heiress Ellie is traveling with her aunt and young cousins home for Christmas when her aunt is in a carriage accident and injures her ankle. The whole crew need to stay with the nearby grumpy Baron Martin, who has a terrible reputation after the death of his brother. He's a total grump, feels guilty about his brother's death, and would rather be experimenting with explosives to help the miners who work on his land. But he's totally drawn to Ellie despite his original misconceptions about her. It's a quick burn romance here for these two and very fun to read. Don't Bargain with the Devil is book 5 of the series. Heartbroken, Lucy is back at her favorite girls' school for a stint as the temporary art teacher while her father and stepmother go to Scotland. Her childhood friend and love basically told her that she was too outspoken and hoydenish for marriage, so she's all sorts of insecure about herself. Meanwhile, a mysterious new tenant has moved in next door. The magician Diego is looking for the long lost granddaughter of the Spanish Marquess, and he thinks that Lucy might be the one he's searching for. It's mystery and intrigue and attraction all rolled into one very entertaining book. I love learning all of Lucy's family secrets and finding out how Diego fits into her future. Wed Him Before You Bed Him is book 6 of the series. The headmistress of the illustrious girls' school gets her romance here in the conclusion of the series. Charlotte is plagued with scandal right now, with a bunch of her former pupils having run off and eloped, and the latest scandal with a suicide. Gets even messier when we find out that the widowed Viscount David is actually an old acquaintance of Charlotte's. 18 years prior, Charlotte and David were arranged to marry by their fathers, but it ended up in heartbreak and public humiliation. And then one day, David seeks his revenge by an adopted persona of cousin Michael to offer a low rent building for Charlotte to build her school, intending to raise the rents and leave her hanging after she's comfortable. But it turns into like a decades long letter writing friendship and then turns into an even bigger mess when the true owner of the property is looking to evict Charlotte soon. David wants to keep his secrets, so sets up even more drama by faking an inheritance from his wife that was donated to the school. We get a pretty quick second chance romance here, with Charlotte being hesitant to trust and David being a typical high handed male for this era. I enjoyed reading all the drama unfold though and learn more about Charlotte and David's past relationship. This was an excellent conclusion to the series and introduction to some side characters that will feature in more of Jeffries' books. The series is tied together by the girls' school that is featured throughout. The female main characters are former students or patrons or teachers there. While the books move in chronological order, they all read as fairly standalone novels with their own settings and plots. There's lots of action and adventure in each of the books, and a big overarching mystery um, that's that's resolved in the last book. Overall, I really enjoyed this series, and I think you will too. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you found a book or two to add to your TBR. Links to all of these books are in the description box. Like and subscribe to get updates, and you can follow me on Instagram at randomolive.